work together. And politically, you get no benefit out of that because the people who participate in the process are on the extremes. Most people in the country don't think about politics on a daily basis. They live their lives. They go to church on Sunday, they go to work, they watch football, whatever it might be that they're worried about raising their kids. But the people who call your office, the people who are politically active, who knock on doors, who carry signs and parades for you, they're the activists. And the problem with that is it's the people in the middle that are getting frustrated with the fact that there's such division in the country.
The most active citizens, who tended to be the most ideological, control the process and pull their representatives to the left or the right, depending on the orientation of the district.
Let me give you an example. I get letters every day from people who have read something on the internet that they take as gospel. They've done nothing to check it out. They've done nothing to reality test what they're hearing. They just get something on the internet that says some far out, crazy, wacko thing, and then they send you a letter as though this were gospel because it was on the internet. You know, I mean, people have got to be a little more skeptical.
The internet has opened a gateway to a never-ending flood of information. It's also made the distribution of that information expand beyond traditional news sources. Websites with an agenda and strong opinions are often built and presented in a way to look similar to a traditional news website, mimicking their style and appearance. This can give some users the impression that these opinion websites are traditional news websites, but the content is much different, biased and based on opinion rather than fact. That bias is amplified on some social media groups. The swapping of information is easy and immediate. Social media groups sometimes bring out raw and often offensive commentary. While social media proves to be a popular way to trade information, it also poses dangers in forming public opinion. There are no rules for fact-checking or sourcing information. Anything goes. Anyone can say anything and connect with others who feel the same way. Combined, opinions that pass as fact can spread almost instantly and can change the course of public debate. And what about the traditional media?
If you want your news delivered from a conservative point of view, you can get it delivered from a conservative point of view.
Republicans take to the floor to give the House a constitutional refresher, but Democrats call the act, quote, total nonsense.
If you want a liberal view, you can find somebody to give it to you that way.
On their first full day in power, House Republicans read the Constitution aloud and took less than one day to violate it.
It's like going into a restaurant now and ordering eggs. You can get them sunny side up, scrambled with a little jalapeno pepper. It's just however you want them, you can get it. But the result of that is we're no longer all getting the same stuff. We no longer all have the same database.
I don't hear people saying, I need the facts to make a judgment on. So I think somebody has to come to the conclusion that they have to offer facts.
In the old days, the thought of Walter Cronkite, for example, going on the air with a rumor was just, inexplicable, unfathomable.
The biggest thing I think we need to be aware of today is that we do get news and information from people whose goal is not objectivity. In fact, it's probably just the opposite. They have a point of view or a cause to support, and that's going to filter the news and information we get from them.
I think it's kind of redefined our whole idea of what is objectivity. To many people now, objectivity is simply whatever agrees with their point of view, and that's subjective, and everything else is biased.
Gather around, guys. Move. Yeah. I know some of you have done a lot of this. All right, so here's what's going on. You're working the morning news at Channel 8, and you've concocted some bogus live shot, and all of a sudden there's some real news.
Kent Collins is the chairman of the Broadcast Journalism Department at the University of Missouri. Mizzou is the oldest journalism school in the country and has a long tradition for turning out many of the country's top broadcast journalists. Tomorrow's network anchors, reporters, and executives are likely to come from here. The importance of objectivity is a key principle taught to all journalism students.
Producing a news broadcast, a digest of today's news events around the world, was a very expensive proposition. Now, for relatively little money, I can get a news set, news graphics, news-looking anchors, and I can regurgitate news that's already been reported. You look at some of these well-known programs on the cable stations, they don't do any reporting. There's no original content there. They're taking material, information that was developed earlier by the regular news purveyors, and they are talking about it. So it's entertainment, or commentary if you want to give it a better name. It's entertainment about stuff that somebody else has done all the legwork and all the expensive reporting to do. That's a huge difference, and I think the public often is confused by this. So we're looking at two cable television shows about the news of the day, and they're vastly different. They're talking about the same story, they're talking about the same event of the day, but they present it differently. This is Fox.
And it is a new day in our nation's capital. Republicans took control.
The setting is like a traditional newscast, and it surprises or confuses some Americans, apparently. Looks like an anchorman, dressed like an anchorman. We have news graphics, a news set that we'll see later in the presentation. All of this looks like a traditional newscast. It has the trappings, but it's not a newscast. It's a show, an entertainment show about news.
Control of the House of Representatives earlier today as the 112th Congress was officially sworn in. Now, for the American people, that means a return to two-party government.
The suggestion was that in the previous Congress, we didn't have two-party government. That's just not true.
And as the anointed one might say, that is change we can believe in.
The reference to President Obama as the anointed one is so much commentary as to be a senseless insult. It doesn't help the delivery of story information.
Now, the highlight of today's event came as the San Francisco speaker relinquished her power to the new Speaker of the House, Ohio Congressman John Boehner. Now, that is certainly a breath of fresh air after 2 years of Democratic power grabs.
Breath of fresh air, as suggested by Mr. Hannity. That's certainly a subjective comment, and power grab is the same kind of phrase. Now we're going to look at the same story on MSNBC, which has been acknowledged to have a very liberal slant. But keep in mind, it's the same news of the day. It's just a way to make entertainment out of the subject matter that differs.
Good evening from New York. This is Wednesday, January 5th, 671 days until the 2012 presidential election. And it's morning sickness in America.
Totally subjective, totally opinionated, used to inject a certain emotion or concept in the minds of the viewers.
A one-night stand against Congress in November, resulting in a brand new Speaker of the House in January. Congressman John Hanky Please Boehner.
The description of Hanky Please refers to Boehner's inclination to get emotional and sometimes shed a few tears, but it suggests that he's maybe weak, maybe too sensitive. The graphic lead him and weep. The picture has an expression on his face that maybe doesn't look confident.
In our fifth story, a headache for the diminished Democrats, but also for the emboldened Republicans, already breaking their Tea Party promises. Welcome to the 112th Congress, discount House of Worship, and flea circus.
The reference to discount House of Worship and flea circus is an insulting reference. It's loaded with subjectivity.
Mr. Boehner of Ohio became the 53rd Speaker of the House, describing this day as a time of great challenges.
Once again, making fun of, making humor out of Mr. Boehner's inclination to cry and show a little bit of emotion at big emotional events. Same news story, two different presentations, and not newscasts. These are not newscasts. These are entertainment shows. These are commentary shows. The media